What's up everyone, Brendan here, aka the Gut Whisperer, and in this video I'm going to be sharing the 5 stages or the 5 pillars of chronic illness. Number 1, genetics. It's really, what cards have you been dealt with? You kind of have to tread the waters lightly with this because you don't want to offend someone, but at the same time, we do have to understand how our genes work. Genes don't turn on or off. We've been told that, or maybe you've heard that before, but they don't work that way. They actually modulate. And I'm going to reference Dr. Tom O'Brien. He says they actually act like a dimmer switch. So what type of an environment, also known as epigenetics, what type of an environment are those genes in? And does the environment dim the switch up to make those genes act on their destiny? Or really, does the environment suppress those genes and not really express themselves? So that's number 1, your genes. And the second one is the environmental triggers. How do the genes either dimmer switch ramp up or go down? How is it acted on the environment? Or really, how does the environment act on the genes' expressions? So the predominant factor that is an environmental trigger, certainly what's on the end of the fork, is the largest factor for environmental toxins. In addition to that, our environment, the air that we breathe, external stressors, rotten kids, spouse, job, money, work, travel, all of those things, chemicals that we're exposed to, paints, work environment, and so forth. So those are all environmental triggers that act on the dimmer switch of our genetics. So that's number 2. So the third factor is actually the environmental triggers causing dysbiosis in the gut. And when we have dysbiosis, that means that we have an imbalance of healthy bacteria being overweighed by the bad bacteria. So those environmental triggers put a serious havoc on our microbiome, our gut environment, which leads into number 4. Known as leaky gut or acute leaky gut or hyperpermeability of the intestines. There's many names for it, but it's leaky gut. Now, leaky gut to a certain degree, that's okay. That's how we absorb our nutrients, our foods, and our fuel. But if you have excessive leaky gut, that's how those environmental toxins and the chemicals and the things that are on the end of our fork, that's how they essentially escape from the gut into the systemic bloodstream, causing an immune response, which leads us to number 5. Fifth pillar of inflammatory disease is the immune response caused by what's leaking into the systemic bloodstream via the leaky gut. Really, how it happens is you've got these macromolecules escaping into the bloodstream via that intestinal permeable leaky gut. Those epithelial cells that line the gut. You've got these macromolecules coming in, and these macromolecules are essentially triggering and causing an immune response. And that is where we get systemic inflammation. And that inflammation will cause certain stress in various areas of the body. And the weakest link in the genetics will essentially break, like Dr. Tom likes to say, the weakest link in the chain. Essentially, that will express itself, and that's where an autoimmune disease will express itself, whether it's like lupus, or Crohn's, or diabetes, or eczema, or vitiligo. The list goes on and on and on. All really autoimmune conditions are an expression of inflammation. So those are the 5 stages, the 5 pillars of inflammation, and I hope you found that valuable. Until next time, in good health and in good spirit.